That's right. Stick your finger in that foam. You're listening to the Illustrious Gentleman. That's Scott. He draws comics, great comics, of all your favorite DC superheroes like Superman and Batman over at DC Comics. I'm Ryan. I color comics like Family Tree at Image Comics. And this week we're talking about Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Go to tigshow.com and click on the support the pod link to find out all the affordable ways to support the podcast. And also, if you absolutely loved Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings, Legend of the Ten Rings, go ahead and listen so you can yell at us later.
Yeah.
Right.
This will give you another thing to be upset about because everybody's already mad all the time.
That's right. To be fair, you're mostly going to get mad at Scott. All right. So what beer did you poorly pour?
I poorly poured a Throne Brewing Company Blood Orange IPA. God damn it.
I have had that, I think, twice.
I apparently this is local. I didn't know Throne was. Where is this Throne?
Peoria, Arizona, but they also have.
Oh, so it's not local.
Well, not to you. They also have, I think, a tasting room, maybe another one in Glendale. So one in Peoria, one in Glendale, and
those are the same things.
And they just opened one not that far from my studio in downtown Phoenix, right across from the Burton Bar Central Library. They opened it, but their big thing I see on my Facebook is on Tuesdays you can get a pint and a burger for $14. And I'm like, oh, any day I can go to Oso and get a pitcher and a burger for $15. So tough. There's a brewery. We'll talk about it when it finally opens, but there's a brewery opening right next to Oso's. And unless they give me a $6 pitcher, there is no incentive to go to a brewery right next to Oso because Oso will give me a $7 pitcher at happy hour.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
What if somebody comes up with 6-minute abs?
That's right. Then I'm interested. If I can get abs by doing 10 seconds of planking a day, then I'll do 10 seconds of planking a day. Okay, so Throne Brewing Blood Orange IPA. Yeah. I said I've had it a couple times. I couldn't tell you if I liked it, but I think I did. Your pour is terrible.
It's a lot better now.
Well, I guess.
That's all remaining. It didn't go down. It's not. It's solid too. Sadly. I can bounce a quarter off of this shit.
I bet. Okay. What is that? That's going to be like a 7.2, I think.
It's a 6.7.
Okay.
6.7.
All right. Yeah. Throne
and
Brewing.
Also 67 IBU.
Ooh.
How's that symmetry hit you?
You think they did that on purpose?
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay. Any more notes on your pour there, or
no? There was nothing. There was one review on Beer Advocate that I think is by the same dude I quoted last time, and it was very lengthy and not at all funny. So I wasn't going to subject anybody to that.
That's okay, because mine is short and not at all funny.
And nobody on Untapped actually adds any notes.
Yeah, that's the problem with Untapped, but I like to use Untapped because you can go to the tigshow.com/support and click on the Untapped link and be friends with us if you have the Untapped link. So that's why we promote Untapped. At least that's why I promote Untapped. I'm having a Harlan Brewing Company, again, not out of Kentucky, but out of San Diego, California. Hazy IPA. And one thing I immediately like is they have a good design sense. Clean.
It's Harland.
Harlan. Yeah, not Harlan. Sorry. Good design sense. Clean. Fresh.
That is nice.
And they don't have some dipshit name for it. It's just their Hazy IPA. It's like when you look at Lost and it just says beer or something like that. Like, I like this. I don't need like San Diego Sky Hazy or, Oceanside Beach Sandy Hazy. I don't need that shit. Just tell me what it is. So that's what I got. It's a 6.5%. Like I said, clean, crisp. I like it. I had one of them a couple weeks ago that I enjoyed. So let's crack this baby open. The sound of the gods. And some photos I saw showed it looking like straight up orange juice, and then others showed it just looking like a regular beer. So I don't know what batch I got. But Jason W. on Untapped says, nothing too crazy here, just a crushable hazy IPA. And I appreciate everything about that. And it just looks like a Tang.
Oh, that looks good.
Yeah.
I like it.
Thank you. Shout out to Tap and Bottle Glass. Shout out to Patreon Jeff, who bought me this Tap and Bottle Glass. All right. Yeah, yours looks like dehydrated urine. Oh, I'm muted. Hang on.
What? Are we good?
Am I back?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I'm having mic issue. Did you hear me when I said, "Oh, I muted"?
Yeah.
Oh, my
Nothing's wrong.
My thing said mute on it. My screen. God damn it, Zoom.
You're good.
I would get mad, except we don't pay for Zoom. Okay.
Get what you pay for.
That's right. I guess we got to get through this week's episode. So my question of the week, real quick, is, and I want like a 10-second answer. How much of a shit do you give about Dune and any incarnation of Dune? Yeah. I don't know if I've ever seen the movie all the way through. I've definitely never read the books. But people
I put on the movie who is it?
Sting. Oh, no. Kyle MacLachlan.
No, the director.
Wasn't Ridley Scott, was it?
No, it's, God damn it. People are going to get so upset.
Francis Ford Coppola?
No, Twin Peaks.
David Lynch
movie. Right? Dune's David Lynch.
Yeah, I don't know.
Kyle MacLachlan is
Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith.
Kevin Smith's Dune. I put that on and promptly fell asleep. So I don't know. I've never read the books. The movies seem boring as shit. It's you are a professed fan of hard sci-fi. This is ultra hard sci-fi. This is impenetrable sci-fi to me. I don't get any of it. There's nothing I can relate to or latch onto.
This might be the only time I ever say this phrase, but it might be too hard for me because there's too much going on, I think, for me to just jump into it at 45 years old. But I see mutuals on Twitter who are great artists who I feel like are more worldly and educated than me, and they all love it. So
I don't get it. That's great. That's fine.
So I'll probably see the new one unless it's 3 hours, and then I'll probably still see the new one. But just because I like spaceships, I like shit with people with their nose up their nose.
Right.
Yeah, it's a kink.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I go watch Zendaya talk about spice for 3 hours.
Sure. Why not?
I won't though.
All right, let's get into TikTok. Europe first. I tried to stack our notes, but then you just keep putting notes in your own pocket there. So we'll just play it by ear. We'll wing it, as they say.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
Our notes are color coded, and I'm trying to put mine in between yours, but then you keep putting all your paragraphs combined. So we can't ping pong naturally.
Sure, we can.
Okay,
whatever.
We'll see what happens. We'll try it out.
Anyway,
whatever.
I signed up for Comixology Unlimited a couple of weeks ago, so I've been slowly utilizing that. Deciding on what to read has been tough, and if we're gonna do more book club episodes, I don't want to read anything we might read for those because then I will forget it, or possibly not want to read it again for the episode if I didn't like it.
We had one scheduled for this week, but then Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings came out.
That's right.
Yeah.
I did check out Something is Killing the Children from Boom Studios. I think the first 2 volumes are on Unlimited by James Tynion. I'm going to say it like that, like onion. The 4th.
Prestigious.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the rich guy in Gilligan's Island.
Yeah. Right.
Werther del Adera and Miguel Muerto. It was fine, I guess. I probably won't read volume 2. It's quite reminiscent of Stranger Things, but just not, I don't know. It's not my thing, so I tried it. I sampled it. It was fine, but I don't think I'll continue. That's all. That's my review.
Cool. So the other night I had the luxury, not the luxury, but the rare instance where my wife was just like, I'm going to bed, and it was still way too early for me to go to bed. So I finally get like I mean, look, I'm a man. I can watch whatever I want,
Oh
but
man,
I would rather,
40.
I would rather just, watch Friends with the wife. But when she's out the room, then I get a little weird and I put on What If on Disney Plus because I only watched the one episode. So I watched two more episodes of What If. I watched the Black Panther Star-Lord episode, which just screamed of like they wanted to mix these two successful franchises into a
I didn't get it.
35-minute cartoon. Like the story was weak, really had no point to it. They're like,
it didn't feel natural at all.
yeah. They're like, how many characters can we throw in this? I get it. Let's make Thanos, who was way too small, by the way. Let's make him like a recovering good guy or whatever. Like, I hope all those motherfuckers got paid to read those lines. That's all I gotta say.
Sure.
And then, but I did watch the third episode as well, and it's if you haven't seen it, it's an assassin. I won't spoil it, but an assassin starts taking out the Avengers right before they could be formed. So it kind of takes place in those first Avengers movies, or sorry, like the Iron Man movie, the Thor movie, all that stuff jumps around, and that's kind of what I want to see from this show. Something like that, where we know what happens. I guess you know what happens with Star-Lord and T'Challa as well. But this is I really enjoyed this episode just because it took something we all know and flipped it around and changed it up. And it didn't just seem like it was screaming fan service the way the second episode did. So after 3 episodes, I'll give the show overall like a tentative, like a shoulder shrug, thumbs up. Like, where are we going from here? But I will keep saying that the animation is both bafflingly boring, but also fun in some places. It's like when they let the animators stretch their wings, you could tell, and it's fun. But when they're just like walking upstairs, it looks awful.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's I feel like this sort of animation is in its infancy. So eventually they'll work out the kinks and this will be how things are done until they figure out the new thing. Yeah, whatever.
That's fair. Yeah, it just looks too much like rotoscoping, which got a bad deal in the 70s, but it's essentially what it is.
It feels like 3D, like Archer animation. It kind of moves the same way. And
yeah,
it's not super fluid.
Yeah, like if Black Panther T'Challa is walking like he has a limp, I'm not gonna believe that he could then fight super buffed Benicio del Toro Collector.
Yeah, I'm sort of aware while I'm watching it that they're 3D models and the animators are bending their elbows, and
right,
making those sort of movements on the puppets or Muppets or whatever the fuck 3D animators call those things.
They call them models. Yeah,
that was a ghost.
No, I thought that if I covered my little light that indicates my camera is on, it'll stop doing the flickering thing it always does on my screen.
Oh.
But I also realized there's a setting I need to work on, but that's neither here nor there.
The sausage making.
That's right. So this next thing that you mentioned, I've never heard of.
This piggybacks on the What If show.
Okay.
I thought, like, what else could Marvel do? Like, what other sort of alternate sort of things could we do instead of just another Falcon and Winter Soldier series or whatever? Okay. And there was a short that was included with the first Avengers DVD. That was a little, I don't remember the actor's name, but it was Lizzie Kaplan and some other dude. And they're this couple that finds a piece of Chitauri tech and just starts robbing banks with it.
That sounds cool.
Something like that would be interesting, you know?
Yeah.
You know, just I just normal people in the MCU and how all the weird crazy shit sort of affects their day to day. Like somebody that gets fired from their job because they were late again because the trains weren't running because there was a super villain attack in Midtown or something. And right. You know, what happens to this person? Yeah,
like Jonah Hill has to move back home because New York City's flooded, but he's still got to work. Like, so he's trying to work from home, but then like his mom keeps asking him questions and like bugging him and shit. And he's like, "Mom, I'm 40 years old. You know, I got to work or whatever." And then the whole time he's like, "Fucking Avengers."
Yeah.
Like I could be in my sweet ass office.
There's a myriad of things you could do. So
Right.
it'd be fun.
Yeah, that would be a good anthology series that would be cheap to produce, and all they care about is content. So it would be perfect. It'd be right up their alley.
Yeah, just a little 23 minutes, no big
Yeah.
deal. Just some weird, funny thing.
Yeah, I hear that. What else have you been watching on HBO Max?
If you want to go to your other thing, if
Okay.
you want to do sports things, and then I'll end with mine.
Okay, all right. See, this is how we naturally.
I guess a wreck.
This is how we naturally do this. Is why I try to stack our notes.
Fuck.
Over the last week, and by the time this comes out, they'll have played 3 games. But as we record, the U.S. men's national team has played 2 games as far as World Cup qualifying goes. And so I've made it a point to set aside time in my schedule to watch both games. And both were draws. Like I said, they play again tonight, and I might actually go out to the American Outlaws supporter brewery tonight with my scarf, because it'll only be 100 degrees out, so I'll wear my scarf.
Right.
So I might go tonight, but as of now, they have 2 draws in 2 games, and it really like hammers home one of the 2 things I really hate about football or soccer. One is the ties, because as an American, it's unnatural. But I also hate penalty kicks as a way to decide tournament games. So I don't want penalty kicks to decide regular games, because I think penalty kicks are cheap. If you have an 80% chance of scoring, it's not really a fair thing. So let me just throw this out there: is they should do a 2-on-1, 2 attacking forwards against 1 defenseman and 1 goalie. Okay. That's how penalty kicks should be. Instead of being penalty kicks, it should be 2-on-1. I've really upset the dog. The dog is a fan of penalty kicks.
Would the attempt end then with a shot on goal?
No, you could do so in penalty kicks you can't follow up. So if the goalie knocks it and it comes right back to you. No, in my 2-on-1 you could, because there's still a defenseman there that could then get back in the play or whatever.
So is there an allotment of time or something then?
Oh yeah, like let's say 1 rebound. Like 1 rebound, 2 chances, 1 rebound. Yeah, you can't just sit there and take shots on the poor motherfucker until he's exhausted.
Well, okay, sure.
Or yeah, let's put 10 seconds on the clock. Let's do that.
The penalty kick is exciting. It's like the penalty shot in hockey.
Yeah, but at least the penalty shot in hockey, the net is slightly larger than the goaltender.
I don't think they should do extra innings in baseball. I think they should go right to a home run derby.
Well, that's because baseball's boring as shit. So anything to make baseball more exciting, I'm on board for.
Sure. Tell me more about these draws then.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We got to get rid of these draws and go into 2-on-1s.
You would think if anybody would appreciate a draw, it's you.
Because I'm just average at everything. Is that what you're trying to say?
Because we're artists.
Oh, my life is a tie. Yeah. So ties suck. Ties suck. U.S. men's team's going to have not a rough go. They should be able to qualify, but who knows? We got 12 more games to go in this qualifying round, so it's a good thing that I'm talking about it now. And then one last sports note: it was 2 changes came yesterday in F1. The third one was announced today. But yeah, George Russell's going to Mercedes next year. So I guess I'm going to have to root for a Mercedes driver next year, because I'm a big fan of old Blue Eyes. And then
that's fine.
And then
you can root for the number 2 Mercedes driver.
I think
that's okay.
I'm going to put this on record. I think he's going to push Lewis. I think it's going to be a 3-way. Right now it's just a 2-way. Next season, I think it's going to be a menage a trois between Verstappen, Hamilton, and Russell.
I don't see why not. I mean, right now, Bottas podiums. So
yeah, he's done with that though. Because where's he going, Scott?
Yeah, yeah. It's not quite Haas, but yeah, he's gonna. He's gonna end up at Alfa Romeo apparently, because
Kimi Räikkönen.
Kimi, that's who I was thinking of.
Is retiring.
Is on the outs.
Yeah, he's retiring after this season. So everything we're talking
that's too bad.
Yeah. Well,
I like him.
Yeah.
He's curmudgeon-y.
Yeah, so everything we're talking about for new F1 fans takes place starting next season. Yeah, so with all that, with Russell moving out of Williams, it opened up a spot for Williams. And my guy,
People are jumping at it.
yeah, it's uh, uh, Alex Albon. Sorry, brain fart. Alex Albon's coming back after one season out. Albon's coming back in with Williams. It was announced today.
Wow.
So I don't think Williams is going to do much better next season.
No.
But I do know that Valtteri Bottas is probably never going to see a pole or a podium again because he really benefited from a Mercedes, as does Hamilton and as will Russell.
Who wouldn't?
Who wouldn't? I would benefit. Give me a G-Wagon right now. I think I'll benefit from it. Know what I'm saying? Like Roy Kent, black on black G-Wagon. Speaking of Roy Kent, what else are you watching on HBO Max? Because he's on an Apple Plus show.
Oh, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I caught up to the other two on HBO Max. Are you aware?
I've never even
the other
heard of
two?
this.
It's by a couple of former SNL show writers. It's got Molly Shannon, and I do not, for the life of me, know the leads' names. But Molly Shannon, her youngest son is a burgeoning pop star, and so the show follows the older two siblings and how their lives are like super disappointing and shitty and stuff. And it's pretty funny. Yeah, it's well done. The actress that plays Burke, I think, is super cute. And that's really all. It's pretty funny. It's well done. It's it's nice. I don't know if you're familiar with Schitt's Creek. It kind of feels like that.
Yeah.
You've got the famous other member of the family, and then you have the gay son and the stuck-up daughter. It got the same dynamic, but I guess it's doing its own thing. Whatever. It's nice. It's fine. It's if you're just looking for something to watch in itty bitty pieces.
On one of the podcasts I recommended a couple weeks ago, We Might Be Drunk, the hosts were talking about how one of them was on a flight back and Molly Shannon was in the row in front of them, and they were talking about how great she is and how she might not get the credit and the respect that other former SNL people get or whatever. And then another one of them told the story about, like, they were on a subway, him and another comedian, when they were first starting their careers, were on a subway car, and like Molly Shannon was a couple seats over, and they were stressed because they were going to miss their spots at like a club. And apparently, like, if you miss your spots at the club, it's like high school, like you're done, like you're not getting back on that list until you prove that you can't be late or whatever. It's very strict. So I guess they're complaining about this and stressing about it, like there's no way we could get there, we got to run up the stairs, we got to get a cab, there's no way we can do this. And apparently the story is that when everyone got off, Molly Shannon was ahead of them, and when they got up to the top, Molly Shannon had hailed a cab and it was holding the door for them and told them to get to the comedy club.
Yeah, she seems like a legitimately nice person.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not the biggest fan of her SNL stuff.
Oh, her was it Mother Mary, or which went to Mother Mary's School for Girls or whatever? I think they made a movie out of that.
Yeah, she got a fucking movie out of that.
Yeah, but the skits were great. Great.
Yeah, just not my thing.
Yeah.
Anyways,
yeah,
let's get into it because we got stuff to say.
Okay, so I guess spoiler alerts. Obviously, for anyone who's not seen Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, we're going to talk about it. So, and again, I think we're going to have differing opinions, but I think much like every time we do one of these, by the end of it, I'm like, Scott's right. I hate this movie now.
Yeah, as I was typing stuff out, I was thinking of Rogue One. I was thinking, I really don't want this to happen again.
Yeah. So Shang-Chi was created by writer Steve Englehart and artist Jim Starlin, debuting in Special Marvel Edition number 15, cover dated December 1973.
Great. As a result of the American infatuation with Bruce Lee, no doubt.
Yeah, but also the Kung Fu TV show with
my God.
Carradine, who I think he died because he was
Embarrassingly.
yes.
Right.
I think it involved a clothes rack, a
The
noose.
worst death in the history of humanity.
Yeah, it involved a left hand, a tie, and a pole. Yeah, shout out though. If you're gonna go out memorably. I'm just gonna die in my sleep. I would rather go out with people talking shit about me on the third favorite comic book podcast that you're listening to today. That's what I want people to do.
Done.
Yeah. Your notes next.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go, boy.
I gotta pull it up here.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Okay, but
I didn't mean to call you boy
mention
either.
That
That's
he was
condescending.
originally written as the son of Fu Manchu.
Yeah. So
Just saying that out loud.
So
I want to apologize.
Right. Well, I read that Marvel licensed the Fu Manchu pulp novels.
Yeah.
So a lot of the supporting characters were not even theirs.
And then when they lost the license, they had to retcon his history. Right.
Right.
Because anybody gave a fuck. There's no Shang-Chi fans anywhere. They don't exist. And if you say you are, you're a fucking liar.
Wait, do you think there's more fans of Shang-Chi, or are there more fans of the 90s rock band Fu Manchu?
The latter.
Okay. All right. I agree with your next thought here, if you want to go into it.
This was the ultimate blank slate MCU project. All they had was a title. You hire your production team or whatever, you get your director and your screenwriters and stuff, and the only mandate you give them is the lead character needs to be named Shang-Chi. Go. And that's it. They didn't have any source material to be faithful to, because it's all embarrassingly racist. And there's no diehard fan base you need to please, as we just established. They could have done anything. And this is what we got.
94.4 million over 4 days domestically. I think 150 worldwide. I have never seen nor heard of any of the movies or heard of the director, Destin Daniel Cretton.
I know I've heard of the movie that got him this project.
I guess I have heard of the name of the movie, Short Term 12, but I don't know what it's about. I've never seen anything.
I couldn't tell you either.
I've also never seen anything with Simu Liu. I'm butchering these names, by the way, but I'm going to go with Simu Liu. I've never even seen anything with Awkwafina in it, except for commercials that she's in.
She was in Birds of Prey.
Okay, so I have seen something with Awkwafina in it.
She was the voice of the dragon in Raya.
Yeah, I don't have to watch those movies anymore, so I didn't.
I don't know. It was explained to me that a lot of people don't like her because they think she culturally appropriates from the Black community because she doesn't sound Asian. She sounds like a Black person. And that didn't make any sense to me at all.
No, I mean, she's Asian American, and I think she grew up in New York, so that's how she's going to sound. Yeah. And then Tony Leung, I've only ever seen in like a couple John Woo movies in the 90s when I went through
I am not familiar with him either.
And that's then my entire knowledge of like Hong Kong.
Michelle Yao.
Yeah, well, yeah, obviously I know who that is. But I don't know anything after Hong Kong action films after like 1994, and I don't know anything about Chinese cinema or anything like that. So all these actors and a lot of the situations and the tropes were new to me, which I'm fine with. Yeah, I mean, it was. I didn't know anything about any of these people going into this movie. I only went to see it because you mentioned you had seen it, and I said, why not go spend $9 and watch a movie when I should be working? And that's exactly what I did.
Did you go alone?
I did.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And no one sat next to me. It was great.
Oh, that's the best.
Yeah. No, I got the perfect spot right there in the middle with my feet on the railing. It was fine. It was perfect. It was great. But yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
I don't know where you want to start. Do you want to talk about the plot? Should we talk about the plot of the movie?
Do we need to I assume if someone's listening to this, they've seen the movie.
Yeah, I guess so. You would hope so.
Okay, well,
I don't know, but I don't know.
yeah,
I'm going by all the movie podcasts I listen
Oh,
to where they
okay,
talk
so-
about that stuff.
all right.
I-
So I'll start, and then you jump in.
Sure. Yeah,
So-
if I can remember. I don't remember the beginning so much.
So Sean is him and Aquafina are valet drivers.
I know it does open like 1,000 years ago.
Oh,
or
right.
whatever, With,
Yeah, so
with
basically,
Daddy.
yeah, Wexu Wu or Wushu Wu, whatever they change his name to.
Yeah,
He's not-
Wenwu.
Yeah, when he's
something.
not Fu Manchu anymore. But basically the Mandarin from the comic books, for lack of a better
Yeah,
term.
I guess. I don't know anything about the Mandarin either. We'll get into that too.
But basically, he was the Khans. Like, he's been around for 1,000 years,
Yeah, that
conquering and
seems to
shit
be
like
the
that.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
somehow he came across these like magic ring things.
Yeah.
And they're like not like finger rings, but like magician rings.
Yeah, bracelets is what most people call them.
Whatever. And
Yeah.
So he's got. They do something.
Yeah,
They shoot energy things, and then he can like also shoot the rings themselves out. And also I guess they make him like immortal or something.
Immortal, right? And then they come back to him. They're like boomer rings.
I don't know. Is it immortality or is it unnaturally long life? Like if you chopped his head off or whatever, or stabbed him through the liver or something, would he die?
I don't know. They didn't explain that. So, anyways,
that's the theme of the movie.
Well, in an effort to get us out of this podcast in the next hour, so basically he's conquering, he's
right.
doing everything, and then in the 80s he goes to find some mystical village, and then just straight up falls in love with a hottie because she defeats him by fighting.
He's into that shit.
He's into being dominated by a woman. Yeah, and she uses like a peaceful technique, and to him that just melts his heart. That's what all these civilizations that he conquered, they should have just given him a hug and he would have stopped conquering. So yeah, he falls in love with this lady, and then for some reason she gives up everything she's about for him. He's not that good looking.
Yeah.
And then Shang-Chi is born, 9 beautiful months later.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So Daddy runs this organization called the 10 Rings based on his bracelets. They do things, I guess. They're another shadow operation along with Hydra.
Yes.
And the Winter Soldier program and the Black Widows.
But to be fair, the 10 Rings have been around since the very first Marvel movie, the first MCU movie.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
They kidnapped Tony Stark.
Oh, God. Okay. Yes. And so he trains Kiddo to be a fighter guy or an assassin or something. But he decides he doesn't want to do that. And so he disappears. And so we find Sean and his buddy Katie, right? It's Katie. They're in San Francisco. They're ballet parkers, whatever.
Yeah.
And then he gets attacked by a group of ninja guys.
10 Rings.
Bus.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And
but not before.
Name?
Right. Wait. You missed a key part here.
Oh,
not before we found out that Katie's family is disappointed in her for being too American. So she can't ever please her family because she refuses she doesn't know enough about her roots. She's too Americanized. They're disappointed in her, which I think from every Asian I know, which I know a lot of Asians, is the overwhelming sentiment of Asian parents on first and second generation Asian Americans. So as someone who's in the know,
okay,
I really dug that part of the story.
Okay, that's okay. That's good.
So that's motivation.
That explanation, because that's going to soften some of my criticism.
Yeah, it softens Miss Fina's motivation, or tells you Miss Fina's motivation.
One of the things I was going to bag on this movie about was that it didn't represent the Asian American experience the way Black Panther did.
Oh, I would say for most Asian Americans, it really nailed home the
Okay.
Asian American experience.
Okay.
Yeah, and then but yes, the fight on the bus with Taserface or Razor Fist.
Yeah, that was the thing, and this
sword
is when Katie
fingers.
finds out that Sean is not
Yeah.
really Sean.
I gotta, one knock though is I wish they hadn't, because earlier in the movie when he wakes up, they show him doing push-ups, and I wish they wouldn't have done that. So then when he finally does start kung fu fighting, even the viewer, even the
Right.
the normals in the audience would be like, "Oh shit!"
Right, him getting up and immediately exercising doesn't play into the lazy,
Right.
Carefree
Right. Oh,
Yeah.
also the drunk
lifestyle.
the drunk karaoke is very Asian American and very Asian.
Oh, is
Going to
Okay,
karaoke,
that
going
happens
to
somewhere.
going to karaoke on a work night and staying up and doing karaoke till like 3. That's totally on brand as well for my Asian American experience.
Sean fights these dudes on the bus, and he's got like a pendant that they want, so they end up taking that and they disappear. And Katie finds out that he's really Action Man, and then I don't remember what happens next. He decides, hey, I've got to go to Macau because I got this postcard that I think is from my sister.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because it had an origami dragon on it, and his sister used to make origami dragons.
Okay. Yeah. So they leave, they go to Macau, and they get there and go to this address on the postcard. And it's some sort of like underground fight club thingy. And he inadvertently agrees to be a fighter in the fight. I don't understand this at all. This was the cheapest, laziest way to insert an action scene.
Yes, but they did tell him, we won't give you any information unless you fight for us. So he's there for information.
Yeah, I guess. They just said, hey, sign this thing.
Yeah, but yeah, also, like, it would be, I understand the reluctant hero, but for me in that scene, a better motivation would be like, oh, I used my skills again for the first time in 10 years. You know what? I liked it. So I'm happy to fight.
Yeah, I don't understand what it was. Is it, I don't know why he's fighting in this thing. It turns out that it's his sister's operation.
Right.
So it could have been, hey, I'm not sure you really who you say you are. I want you to prove it, sort of thing. Because they haven't seen each other.
That would have been good too.
However the fuck long, and why Wong and Abomination are fighting inside of a fish tank when they get there. I have no idea what's happening.
Well, it's just to let you know that shit's gonna get weird.
But why are they there? And they leave together like, oh, it was okay, I guess we're all done doing this thing. That
one of the YouTube videos I watched explained that at the end of one of the movies, one of the in-cut sequences kind of hinted at the Thunderbolts. So they're wondering if, maybe Abomination is going to be part of the MCU's Thunderbolts.
And Wong?
I don't understand. I mean, I understand the obvious reason why Wong's in this movie, but I don't understand why Wong is in this movie and not Doctor Strange.
Because I understand, because Doctor Strange is fucking everywhere.
He's a little busy right now.
Everything right now.
Okay.
So I get that.
Right.
But I don't understand what they're doing here. It just doesn't make any sense to me, other than remember the MCU.
Right.
Every once in a while they have to say, hey, remember?
Well, also, if you just had two unnamed characters that longtime comic fans know in that scene, it would be a better Easter egg. And then at the end, when Wong opens his spiral thing, then you would be like, holy shit. Like, it would be a much better reveal to only have Wong at that end credit scene, not have him earlier in the movie.
Right, yeah, anybody else. Let's see Taskmaster in there with somebody. It doesn't matter.
What about Shatterstar? Let's introduce
and when
X-Force.
So they get into this thing and they're walking around, and there's a lady fighting a dude in one of the rooms Was he one of the extremist guys? Is that what
Yeah,
was happening?
yeah, and she was one of the widows from the Red Room.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes,
Yeah, I
which
figured it was
I
something
didn't
like
see
that.
that. I didn't see that movie. Yes.
Whatever. Cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Family reunion.
Sister, brother get
Yeah.
back together, but then dad shows up, right, to get
Right.
sister's piece of
The
that's
pendant.
the thing. The pendant thing. It's two identical pendants. They each have one.
Right.
So 10 Rings comes and they fuck shit up. There's
Right.
another big fight sequence. But they all end up leaving for daddy's place together.
Right.
Right?
In an
weird.
unnamed part of Asia.
Yeah. Anyway, they
Right.
go to the 10 Rings compound.
Right.
There's more exposition stuff. What happens? Okay. So he needs the two pieces of the pendant. And he
Right.
puts them in a dragon statue. And then the dragon statue creates this thing that shows him a path through the
Right.
bamboo maze
More.
to the place he's already been to.
No, no. He's been in the bamboo forest. He's never
Right.
been to the. He's never been to the entrance to Tao Lao or wherever it is, Lo
Right.
Tao.
Okay.
Yeah. By the way, stop saying pendants with such hatred in your voice, because spoiler alert, I ordered us matching pendants.
Oh, well, it was not my intention to sound like that.
Okay, good, because then it's going to be awkward when we have to go out in public, and I'm going to be like, "Do you have your pendant?"
Are they two halves of the same dong?
Well, one's the cock and one's the balls. When you join them together. Yeah, so all that is to tell you what's going to happen in the third
Right.
act, or the second half of the movie.
I don't know if it was before or after this point where he reveals to them that he's been hearing the voice of their deceased mother.
Yeah,
And
it's,
so
it's during that.
Okay, so that jump starts
The point of the
plot
movie.
for the
Yes.
second half of the movie.
Yes.
Yeah. So he believes that his wife, I don't know if he believes she's alive or if it's her soul or something, but she's being kept prisoner in her village,
Right.
in
Right.
the secret magic place. So he needs to get back there to free her.
Right.
So he's no longer bad guy.
Right, because I mean, as we all know, the fifth element is love, and he is so in love with her that he can't give it up.
Right.
Right.
He needs to find the multipass to get to
Her heart.
Talao.
Yeah.
Talao?
Talao. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then the kids are like, "No, Dad, that's stupid. You're being an idiot." And he's like, "Well, I'm going to put you in jail then." And so he puts them in a dungeon.
And it'd be so good if they had
unsupervised.
It'd be good if they had a way to escape and get to Tao Lao before him, to have a montage.
Totes. Yeah. So they're in this dungeon and come across the original Mandarin guy.
Yeah.
Ben Kingsley.
Trevor Slattery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I fidgeted in my seat and I looked around at the other people in the audience,
right,
for confirmation that this was a bad idea.
No, they probably all loved it though.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. So
it is a 9-year-old movie or whatever at this point.
So the new Rockstar's YouTube channel educated me on the fact that there was a short film included on one of the DVDs where he is broken out of prison by the 10 Rings.
This will be the point where I say the idea of the 10 Rings is stupid and they shouldn't have used it. And he didn't need to be in this movie. He's purely comic relief.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work because we don't need him, because Aquafina is already pulling that weight, and
better.
And putting him in here doesn't make any sense. He says they busted him out of jail and they were going to kill me, but then I did some funny thing or whatever, and everybody really liked it. So now I do performances every week. What?
Yeah,
this is so bad.
It's modern MCU. It's the Guardians of the Galaxy effect. It's we gotta have comic
It's
relief.
terrible.
We gotta have
Yeah.
big laughs, and then
Anyway, they're unsupervised in this dungeon, and his sister punches through a wall. And it's like, hey, the garage is this way. We should go. So they get in a car and they leave.
no, they get in Razor Fist's SUV. His
Right.
electric I don't know if they're sponsors, but I'm going to say they are. His electric BMW SUV.
It reminded me a little bit of the Pussy Wagon in
Yes.
Kill Bill. Yeah.
Yeah, and also another thing I learned
Wow,
from
that was a good movie.
from that YouTube video was that Razor Fist is never called Razor Fist, so you only know he's Razor Fist because it says Razor Fist on the side of his brand new BMW SUV that he just graffiti painted Razor Fist on
Yeah,
the side.
that seems like a thing Wenwu would be cool with.
Yeah, exactly. He has a garage with everyone has their own vehicle. I mean, we only saw a couple, but
They all commute.
Yeah.
You don't see this.
yeah. And if you're gonna be a dude who can have a razor come out of your stump, you got to let everybody know when you're driving around town. Pick up your noodles.
And so they go to look for the entrance, right? They're going to drive through the bamboo maze and get to the entrance to Tao Lo, but they have a trump card. They have the secret weapon, which is this weird little faceless bear thing with like
it's a pillow with legs and wings. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very weird. Anyway, that's why what's his fucking face? That's why Ben Kingsley in this movie, because this little critter makes these noises, and then Ben Kingsley translates the little noises to like everybody else.
R2D2 and Luke Skywalker piloting, through a maze.
Right.
This
is a porg.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's porgly done.
Right. I have no doubt for Christmas I will be buying one of my 3 children
a Trevor.
Yes. I think
or
his
Marty.
name is Morris.
Oh, Morris. That's right. Trevor is the adult. You don't want to buy them. You don't want to buy them a 65-year-old Ben Kingsley.
Right. Yeah.
Problematic.
My 13-year-old will want the Funko Ben Kingsley.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With his top knot and everything.
Right. So they go through they get there, they go through there. And then I will say, well, I mean, when they go through the portal, then it all of a sudden becomes Avatar: The Last Airbender.
There's a lot of water stuff.
Yeah. A lot of like Fox with 9 tails, a lot of Asian mythology. I'm personally a huge fan.
Lots of Pokemon.
I'm a huge fan of the Guardian Lions, which are since Okinawan Shisa dogs.
Right.
Those
dragon horses.
Rad as shit. Yeah, the dragon horses were dumb. The Shisa dogs were great. But yeah, just sort of like if you were like me and you had any hope of this movie staying grounded and being like a small scale MCU movie, it went out the fucking window when Thunderbirds flying fucking phoenixes are going through the air. I was like, oh, I can already see where this one's going.
Yeah. Yes. At the moment it is revealed that dead mom is talking to dad and he has to go find the magic land. That was the moment when the movie jumped the shark and this became not Shang-Chi's movie anymore.
Right.
This was not about him. It just became about him stopping a thing. It became dad's movie for the second half, which is a shame.
Yeah, I agree that's kind of further down in my notes, but yes, the last third of this movie, or it might have been the last half once this all happened, I was like, fuck, like this is what I didn't want out of this movie. But it's an MCU movie, so I should know better. It's like you burn your hand on the stove, keep touching the fucking stove.
Yeah, but so Katie and is it Zanling? Is his sister?
Xialing, something like that.
This is going to be pathetic,
right?
And Shang-Chi and Trevor all show up at Tao Lo. And it's the traditional sort of Chinese fantasy sort of setup, and they walk around and do stuff. They got there a long time before Dad.
I think it was only supposed to be like 3 days.
So everybody ends up finding their way. Katie like learns to be a archer. I was going to say bowsman, but
Bo's woman.
Bo's woman.
That's right.
Bo's person.
Yes.
And Shang-Chi gets his iconic outfit. You remember that? Everybody can picture it in their heads, I'm sure.
Yeah, people were dying for him to get that outfit because all their Shang-Chi comics at home, he's wearing that outfit.
Yeah, so they're all doing their thing. Everybody's getting ready for Dad's appearance, and it finally happens. Wenwu shows up. How? In 4 Land Rovers. That's how the big bad guy rolls up.
I think there were more than 4.
He gets out of a car, and that's it.
Well, that's how they got there.
Jesus Christ.
But yes, they drove there. Not even like new Land Rover. I think those are like 1990s Land Rovers, Discoveries. I'm surprised they even made the trip because those vehicles are pieces of shit.
Well, they got the fleet price from Enterprise.
See, there should be a cut scene where like Razor Fist is like, did you get? Are they all fueled up? Because I don't want to get halfway there and one of us has to get gas. And there should be one. So they should have shown a scene when they're racing through the bamboo jungle, and one of them just starts lagging, and then you cut inside, and it's a guy like, "Fuck, I forgot to fill it up," and then they get caught by the bamboo. It's always pays to be prepared. Yeah, they show up. There's a fight. There's a fight. Yeah.
The Talos and the 10 rings all fight. And Dad's following the voice. He's going to go free Mom. And the voice is coming from a cave in the cliff that is barricaded by a wall of dragon scales.
Right. The third most powerful thing now in the MCU.
Right. So he starts punching it to break it.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's going to, he spends a good long while punching this wall.
Yeah, I'd be exhausted. I mean, he has good cardio.
And while he's punching it, like the scales are loosening, right? Oh, we totally glossed over the fact that when the heroes get there, Michelle Yeoh explains to everybody, no, he's not actually hearing your mom. There's a giant like cosmic demon that fucked up a whole bunch of shit a long time ago, but we trapped it in this cave behind the dragon scales. And I guess it's like talking to him somehow. I don't know. Everything is. While I was sitting there watching it, I was imagining like the writer's room in my head, and the thing out of everybody's mouth when they start talking is, I guess, like the demon is using like his mom's voice to talk to him. Oh, and I guess they'll get there and the dragon will fight the thing.
Well, I think a better motivation for me would have been, much like Bane says, is he's so heartbroken he just wants to watch the world burn. He knows it's a monster. He wants to release it.
They didn't sell that at all.
No, but I think that would have been better than this whole like, it's your mom, I got to save her, because they always try to make you sympathize with the villain. What's wrong with just having a villain?
I don't mind that. The villain, I don't know, for doing the sort of shit that Marvel villains need to do, they need to have some sort of motivation, right? And this is fine. I don't mind this, but we can finish this up. So he punches the thing and he releases the big demon guy, right? Big demon guy starts flying around, and what the demon things do is like take the souls out of people, and the little ones, there's little ones that look like the big ones. The little ones fly around and take the souls out of people, and then they fly over to the big one and drop it in its mouth. It's very weird.
It's like the opposite of a mama bird feeding its chicks. The chicks are feeding the mama bird.
It's like some sort of board game I play with my kids. I feel like they need to shoot things into the mouth of the monster before the timer runs out.
It's like Hungry Hippos.
And so so he releases the thing. It's flying around. There's a big dragon that lives in this lake next to the village, and the big dragon comes out.
Thank God, because how much longer could Shang-Chi have hold his breath?
And they start the dragon thing and the demon thing start fighting while Shang-Chi fights his dad. And it turns out that Shang-Chi can also control the rings. So like sort of as they're fighting, he's taking control of more and more of them. And so I don't remember how he beats his dad. Does he beat his dad? No. The dragon,
the demon thing sucks his soul.
Yeah, grabs him and sucks his soul out.
Right.
And so that's how he dies. And then so Shang-Chi's got all the rings now.
All 10 of them.
Him and his sister and the dragon start fighting the demon thing in what turns into a CGI nightmare with all of this water and stuff. And I've heard multiple people talk about this ending and the water effects, and all coming to the same conclusion that this is an attempt to hide the CG, right? So we're just going to put stuff we're going to put things between you and what's actually happening to hide a lot of the stuff that doesn't look so great.
Classic comic book artist
shit.
Just
put something big in the foreground.
That's right.
Yeah. And then so Katie fires an arrow because she's a bows person now, and she shoots an arrow through the thing's neck, and the big demon thing dies, right? And that's the end.
I think shooting it through the neck weakens it, and then Shang-Chi does that.
He uses the rings to.
He does like an air. He slowly falls, but he does a kata while he's falling.
Right, but they're like going into the thing or whatever, and like spinning around and like sawing it to pieces or something.
Yeah, I think that he basically penetrates the beast with his rings, and then when he calls them back, it makes them blow up.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he destroys the creature. Everybody's happy.
Right.
Paolo is saved. Turns out the whole universe is saved or something.
The universe, that's one verse. The multiverse.
Jesus Christ, what's stakes?
Saved. Multiple dimensions.
Yeah. And then that's it, right? They go back to San Francisco.
Yeah, and they party with Wong.
Yeah. So was that the end of the movie, or was that a post-credits scene? That was the end of the movie when they're sitting there. They're back in the restaurant. Him and Katie are talking to a couple of friends of theirs, and they're relaying the whole story of how they stopped the demon thing, and the couple's like, "Oh, okay, I guess so." And then Wong shows up.
You mean the girl from the Discover Card commercial that woos?
What?
That actress, their friend. The actress who's like the uptight yuppie now, she's in a Discover Card commercial where she's talking to another Asian woman and they look similar. And it's like, oh, you could do this, you could do this. And they're like, woo!
Oh.
Yeah, Discover Card girl. DCG.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah, but then Woo, the best thing, Woo, I wasn't going to bring this up, but I think I am going to bring this up.
Yeah, do it.
Because this is going to make me sound like I don't appreciate the cultural relevance of this movie, which I do, and I really like Awkwafina in this movie. Surprisingly, I really did like her in this movie. Why does she get to go with Shang-Chi to become an Avenger, essentially? Because she shot one arrow. I understand if you want her in future movies because she was great, but that's like Wong going to pick up Bruce Banner and just being like, "Oh, you're having dinner with your friend? Why don't both of you come?"
Shang is new, this is all. Yeah, I would want somebody there too.
Right, but it wasn't like Shang-Chi said, "Hey, I'm going to bring my friend because this is all weird." Wong's like, "Oh, you come too."
Okay. I don't know, whatever.
So maybe she's going to become the next Hawkeye or something in a future movie.
So they go with him, and that's the end of the movie. And that would have been fine with me. It'd be like, oh, they're going on to another adventure or whatever, or what's going to happen. It's clear he's part of the MCU now, but they have a post-credits thing where he's like doing a magic sort of Tony Stark look at the rings and sort of taking them apart and examining them, and they're on a Zoom call with Captain Marvel and Bruce Banner, not Professor Hulk, Mark Ruffalo, who clearly looked like he did not want to be there.
Yeah, they're like, "Can you dye your hair?" He's like, "No."
Just make me a fucking hologram.
Yeah. It was another way that they felt like they had to tie this to the larger MCU.
It was totally lazy, and it did nothing because it got us nowhere. Captain Marvel's like, "Oh, I got another call. I gotta go." Then Bruce is like, "This is boring. I got something else to do. Bye."
Yeah, but it just ties this is the problem with the MCU, in my opinion, is everything's got to be tied to something. Why can't the rings just stay a mystery and just be Shang-Chi's rings? Why do they have to be a bigger part of the MCU?
Yeah, and then the second post-credit scene is them going to the karaoke bar.
No.
Right?
No, the second post-credit scene is Xialing running the 10 rings.
Oh, right.
Because they say that they left her behind to dismantle the 10 rings. And
right. I was hoping at that point she was going to turn it into the hand.
Yeah. Oh, we haven't seen the hand. Did we see the hand in Daredevil?
In Daredevil, yeah.
Okay.
But they've made it clear that the Netflix stuff is its own thing.
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer because, and I understand why they didn't do it. Again, as a white guy talking, this would have been the perfect movie to introduce Daredevil into. Had the hand and the 10 rings been mixed together, that would have been like, that would have been a fun cameo. Maybe have fucking Daredevil fighting in the fucking arena rather than, maybe have Daredevil and the Punisher fighting in the arena rather than fucking whoever else. But anyways, we went through the whole story. That's fine. My first thought is I really love's a harsh word. I really did enjoy the first half of this movie when it was a street level martial arts movie. I really enjoyed it. And I was hoping like they could can they rein themselves in? Can this be the movie? But then they're like, no, fuck you. This is an MCU movie. Like I wanted it to be like a Rumble in the Bronx, like a real action movie.
I don't know. I push back on, I don't think the movie was ever street level. From the jump on the bus scene, it was
right, but it wasn't cosmic level at that. It wasn't even citywide level at that.
But it introduced the problem that I'm going to have for the rest of the movie, where the best fights, all of your favorite fight scenes in whatever movie it is in, all benefit from it being regardless of wire work and choreography, it all feels, the best stuff in my argument, it all feels grounded and visceral, right? Even the crazy weird stuff that Jackie Chan's doing, right, with all the crazy using props and his environment and all of that stuff, it's all somebody doing it. So when you throw in CG aided jumping and movement and stuff, it takes the weight out of the action for me, and it makes it more like a cartoon than a film.
I get that. I just wish that there was some restraint put in. Like, what would have been the problem with having a movie where Shang-Chi realizes his dad is going to do horrible things with the power of the 10 rings and decides, I got to go back home to fight, to challenge my dad, to stop him from doing these things and become the rightful owner of the 10 rings. Because when they just slap their ass onto his arms, he seems to know what to do with them, even though there was never, ever a scene earlier in the movie where his dad trained him at all to use the 10 rings.
Yeah, there are a lot of problems like that. Shang, through the entire movie, I don't feel was an active protagonist. He never did anything for himself. There was nothing in this movie that he wanted. He was reacting to everything. which is, I don't know. It, it like in my last note for the end of this thing that I had, I spent the entire movie thinking about how I would do everything differently. Every scene, everything. I spent 2 hours thinking, oh, well, maybe they should have done this instead, or this scene should have been here and not here. That's how I spent the entire movie. And it's just such a bummer because you mentioned you appreciate the cultural significance or the cultural relevance of it, and based on that, like Captain Marvel, like Black Panther, the expectations and the importance that outside forces level upon this piece of popcorn entertainment, it deserved to be better than it was. And
Yes.
it was really disappointing. I felt disappointed for other people, even though most everybody else seems to really enjoy it. It was just weird. I did suburban white person thing where I felt bad for other people on their behalf.
Yeah, it's I will say our criticisms of this movie, which again I'll reiterate, the first half of it I really liked, are definitely like white dude problems. But also a lot of people seem to love it. So there's two ways of this. One is you and I just don't appreciate movies that are good when we see them, or people just can't get over being predisposed to love everything Marvel does and Disney does.
I think that there's
They can't be critical of it.
a bit of relevance bias. I think you saw some of that in an Oscar nomination for Black Panther. That was not a Best Picture movie.
Well, there's like 15 nominations, so
I think you saw a lot of that reception for Captain Marvel. I think that is objectively a bad movie.
it's objectively a boring ass movie.
And I think you see some of that for this, that it gets a pass because of what it is. And I don't know how to feel about that. You know, I don't know how to feel about that.
Yeah, I mean,
I
if you're Asian American, this movie means so much to you that I feel bad saying anything negative about it. But the problem is, much like every movie could be better, and it's just like I think little things.
Sure.
Like when those fucking dumb fucking flying things started coming out between the scales, my first thought was like, oh, mindless things for them to fight again, like in every Avengers movie and every fucking movie.
This thing, what is it called? It's the it's some alliterative thing. What did they call this thing? What's the monster's name? It's the
Soul Eater, the World Eater.
Oh fuck! It starts with a W. I don't remember it, but there's no mention, zero mention of this thing until halfway through the movie. Probably better than halfway through the movie.
Right.
That's a big problem. What is the narrative? Gigs. What's the name for it? What's the gun?
What are you talking about?
No, there's
the MacGuffin.
There's I don't know which Russian writer it is. What is it, like Chekhov's gun or something, right? You introduce the gun in the first act and you have to fire it by the third act. Problem is they didn't let you know there was a gun
right
until the end of the second act.
I definitely got the vibe that more than halfway through making this movie, someone from Marvel was probably like, wait, what the fuck? Like, where are the special effects going to go? Where's the flying shit going to happen? Like this movie, this movie became it's like two different movies.
Oh, it's certainly two different tones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. You said you like the first half because it was more street level.
Yeah.
And yeah, and this is where, even with the presence of the 10 rings, this is where things just go completely off the rails, is with the Tao stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Why can't he just be a dude? You know, that was one of my notes. Why can't he just be a dude? Black Widow's just like a lady. You know, Hawkeye has unnaturally good aim,
He just
but
has
it's
good,
never explained.
he just has good eyesight. That's all.
Why can't Shang-Chi just be a dude who's just really good at beating the shit out of people?
Yeah, like again, as I said a little while ago, I would have liked the whole point of him to be like, well, I got to wrestle this power away from my dad, who's a bad guy, and then at the end, I'd like him to be like, I don't want to use these. He'd be a more interesting character if he didn't want to use the 10 rings, and then in a future movie, he has to use the 10 rings because whatever it is, he can't defeat.
Yeah,
So,
I feel like it. Yeah, it
but to have
something.
a fucking, and by the way, they had to introduce a dragon to finally win a flying Chinese dragon had to actually win the day for them. They were just along for the ride, literally on the back of it was a Treyu,
Yes,
and they were fucking riding the luck dragon.
Battle was taken out of his hands.
Yes, he had
That's garbage.
He basically had the finishing move. So it was like a tag team. He didn't do shit until he did like a magic kata in the air.
Yeah, what did he didn't overcome anything.
No,
his dad was defeated by the monster thing.
Yeah, the dragon. Arguably, Aquafina did more to defeat the Dark One than he did.
Yeah, we explained earlier that way early in the movie, little Shang-Chi is trained to be an assassin, and when he's like 14 or whatever, he's sent out on his first assassination mission, but not until more than halfway through the movie, when we get to Tao Lo, does he explain, oh yeah, remember when I said that I was sent to kill a guy, but I couldn't do it? Well, guess what? I did do it, and I feel super bad about it just now. Not for all of my life, not for the first half of the movie, but now I'm mad about it, and now I'm going to kill my dad when he shows up.
Just because he didn't say, maybe he always felt bad about it.
We didn't get any sense of that. He didn't seem conflicted at all.
He was also a brainwashed killer at that time.
That's how they need to start the movie. That's the opening scene in the movie.
Right. And also, for the 10 years that he's known Aquafina and her family, maybe they soften him and turn him into the man he is now. Maybe give some credit to that. He was a hardcore killer at 14. It runs away.
It needed an Adam Sandler movie or a Pixar movie element where dad is super assassin guy, but Shang-Chi, I just like making cookies or cakes or whatever. I don't want to do this shit, dad. I want to be my own guy, but there's no element of that. That's what it needed. There needed to be, I want my own life. I don't want your thing. So when he's sent to do this thing and he does it, and not only was it not a thing he wanted to do, but now this thing has ruined his entire life. But he's going to carry this with him forever. So you needed to have a character that wanted his own thing, but now can't deal because of the things that he was forced to do. I wanted a more tortured character. I wanted somebody split, somebody that had run away. Maybe he's run a lot, right? So he's lived in different places.
Yeah, like David Banner. His dad's
constantly trying to find him, that sort of thing. But I don't know. The whole thing just slapped of being just so lazy.
Yeah, the more I think about it, it just struck me as studio notes really altered what could have been a fun movie.
I guess I think it was all studio notes. I think that's why they get these guys. Somebody has moderate success with some indie film, and it's, oh, awesome. Here's a bunch of money to do the thing we want you to do now. That's why Edgar Wright doesn't direct a Marvel movie. That's why you're never going to see David Fincher direct a Marvel movie. Nobody with, an established directorial voice is ever going to be a part of this thing.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess you're not
So
getting
I,
like
I
Ridley
don't
Scott
think
and
they
shit.
brought anything. I think this was this was studio committee movie from the start.
Yeah, I guess it could just be like modern Big Two comics. Most of everything is like editorial driven, sales driven, that kind of shit.
Yeah. Anyway, that's what I wanted. I want. It would have been nice. It would have been weird to see a nice guy, right, who just wanted to have a normal life, who's really like inherent natural talent was just like bringing pain to other people through his fists. That would have been interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's like in my notes here, there's a bit in Unforgiven at the end where Clint shoots Gene Hackman and all his deputies and shit, and he's standing there over all the bodies, and another guy comes out and is like, oh, how did you decide who you're going to shoot first? You know, experienced gunfighters always target the best shooter. He's like, I have always just been lucky when it comes to killing folk. That would have been great for Shang-Chi. It'd be like, it's just the only thing I've ever been good at.
Right. Yeah, like throw a couple scenes in the movie where he's bad at parking cars. Like he's bad at everything.
Yeah,
you know,
he can't keep a job, or
yeah.
He's he's like a veteran that comes back to the States. He's just like, I can't. You know, I can't just go to the store.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, I actually do think there's a really interesting character there who plays a really good part in the MCU, because he's not Iron Man and he's not whatever. But the problem is you give them these rings that are fucking cosmic / technological, and now he becomes part of that. When what's wrong with just having the dude who can fuck up the dude?
The dude that can fuck up the dude isn't a movie, though. You know, it's a Netflix show. It's a Disney Plus show. It's not a movie.
Yeah, one of the things I read on I think it was on Wikipedia was back in 2008, because if you remember, I think it was the first couple Marvel movies were also Paramount movies before MCU became their own studio. And like Paramount bought like 8 properties, or they were going to develop 8 properties, and this was one of them back in 2008. Shang-Chi was on the list along with the Avengers.
That's crazy.
And it's nuts. So they've had plans for this guy forever.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, he was, but I guess I just don't. I'm so tired of the fuck. I'm so tired of the fucking. Everything's got to be, gigantic scale, end of the world shit.
Yeah, this was not a property that fit into that thing, and it feels like it was made to fit into it for sure.
But also, this even could have been a fun movie had he not won the day. But he gets the attention of the Avengers, and he's in a future MCU movie. And because he failed, the 10 rings are still a problem, or something like that. Like, it's
it was way too big. You can have him being the hero and saving the day, but it needed to be a lot smaller. It didn't need the multiverse wrecking demon dragon thing. That was it was so ill-conceived. Anyway, what else? What other thoughts did I have? Oh, the 10 rings themselves have been around for thousands of years, but just now all the sorcerers are like, hey, what are those things? These are interesting.
Right. Wouldn't the Sorcerer Supreme that was around during Genghis Khan's time been like, hey, man, the stories about this guy are wild. We should check him out.
And if you're going to have something influence the history of the universe somehow, there needs to be some reflection of that in modern day universe. Yeah. So what happened to his empire that he strung together?
Right, that now he has to drive 15-year-old Range Rovers.
Did he just give all of it away? What is? I think Wenwu's story is so boring.
You know what would have been more interesting is had Wen Wu been training to be a sorcerer supreme and stolen the 10 rings.
Yeah, see, there you go. That's
Yeah.
what I thought it was going to be. What are they called? Relics or artifacts or something in
I
the
don't
Doctor
know.
Strange movie? The relic chooses you or whatever. It's like a wand.
Oh, like a shitty cape.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 And that's
Something
what I
like
thought
that.
they were going to be. Yeah, but apparently they're not. There's some other thing that's sending out a signal that's calling to something else. Get the fuck out.
Yeah, so 10 Rings organization sucks.
Yeah, it's dumb. I hate it.
You do
They,
have
they
a
didn't explain what they were. I think that I understand why, but I think it's a poor decision to not explain
Okay.
how they work.
yes. Why should we care about them if we have to wait another movie or two to find out?
Right.
Or three.
This was Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. The next one's not going to be called that. So explain to me what the 10 rings are in this
Right.
movie.
Yeah, I get you. I will say you got a line in here about like it didn't even have any great action scenes. I think the bus scene and I think the first two fight scenes were good. The bus scene and the not him and his sister, but the
Like on the outside of the building.
the scaffolding and the bus scene I thought were great.
I think they could have been. I think the concepts and the ideas behind it are neat and fun, but churned through the MCU machine, I thought it was made to be less than it could have.
Yeah, it definitely could have been more like Gonzo and more weird.
This would have benefited from a traditional action director, I think. This is where you pigeonhole somebody.
Right, because the guy who directed this had only made like indie dramas before this, I think.
Right. Yeah, and that's what this movie is, right? That's Shang-Chi's whole shtick, is that he's the martial arts superhero. So that's what this movie needs to be famous for. So when people leave the theater, everybody needs to be saying those were the best fight scenes in a Marvel movie so far. And so I don't feel that way at all. I think it easily doesn't even crack the top 5. But in the list that I made, I think those scenes also benefit from an investment in the characters involved, which admittedly we're not going to get in the first film in a character series.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just really bummed. Like I said, when they went through the portal, when they went through the forest, wasn't even a portal. When they went through the forest, oh no, they did. They drove through like a waterfall, right? Anyways.
Yeah.
So when they actually crossed over and I saw how fantastical and magical and shit it was, other people's mileage is going to vary, but for me, it was like, fuck, here we go. Everything I was, because it was slowly becoming that. It was slowly becoming that movie I didn't want it to become. And then it was like someone slapped me in the face with like an MCU sticker across my fucking cheek. Like, here you go. If you thought it was going to be anything different, you're a fucking idiot. But I saw when you said I have thoughts, and I think you capitalized have thoughts, I thought that was a positive. So I'm like, fuck, if it did something cool for Scott, I got to see it. And then you're like, don't pay to see it. And I'm like, I'm seeing it. And you're like, you don't have to. And I'm like, I'm seeing it.
It as grounded as it was, or as street level as it was.
Street level, yeah.
It shot up into the stratosphere as soon as they went through that waterfall. So yeah, they had an opportunity to do something different.
Yeah, it became like a kaiju movie at the end instead of a martial arts movie or whatever, you know?
Sure, and you save that shit for the sequel.
Yeah, ramp it up. I mean, this movie went from 0 to 1,000 in 2 hours, which I appreciate. It wasn't any longer because it felt longer already.
It did feel longer.
Yeah. But yeah, your list of fights here that we were talking about how I liked some of the fights and stuff like that. Some of them benefit from knowing the characters, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
Some of them benefit from obviously a CGI Iron Man can do shit that Shang-Chi can't. But you do mention Daredevil, which I guess they're trying to act like doesn't exist. But yeah, the fights in Daredevil, the hallway fight is as good as any fight in this movie.
Yes. And I don't know what the difference is between producing that show and producing this other than scale, because people love that fucking hallway scene. That's all anybody talked about
Right.
for that show. And you could have that here. You could have an equivalent of that. You know, the I guess the bus could have been that, or the building thing probably didn't have an opportunity because it's not 1991 anymore, and you're not actually going to put guys on wires outside of an actual building.
Yeah, it makes me think that I saw somewhere where like Shang-Chi costs like 150 million to make or 125 million to make or something. So it'll make its money back at some point.
Oh, yeah.
But why not have made it a $50 million or $65 million movie on a smaller scale? It's still going to make. Do you think this movie makes an extra $100 million because of the dragon and the nameless soul sucker thing? It was going to make the same amount of money whether it stayed grounded and it was just Shang-Chi versus his dad. It's going to make the same amount of money as it's going to make with the dragon and all that shit.
Yeah, I agree. No, it's part of the MCU. It's not just a Marvel movie. It's not just a comic book movie. It is a part of this universe, and it needs to have a minimum of this kind of scale.
Yeah, it's just a shame because as a movie that, like you mentioned, the relevance factor, it ruins what could be a better movie for the people that it means so much to. Seeing that end fight scene didn't make any Asian American love this movie more or less than they already loved it. Like, it was already a movie they want to love. Why make it go so overboard to please like dipshit fuckfaces who want that shit in their movie?
Right. And I could be wrong and ignorant. I don't know if Tao Lo was something created for this movie.
No, apparently all the way back to Kirby.
Okay.
Tao Lo is one of the realms, so the Asgardians know about Tao Lo. It's like a pocket realm.
Oh,
It's a thing.
that's not better. Surely there is some traditional Chinese fable. There's some part of actual Chinese lore they could have drawn on for something. I mean, because that originally that's what Thor and Asgard is, right? It's like actual historical, mythology from a specific people somewhere in the world.
Yeah, Norse mythology.
You could have easily done that here, but
again, it didn't need any of that.
But again, they just used another concept constructed by an old white dude.
Yeah, it didn't need any of that. There's enough. Everybody who grows up in any type of culture, which, I mean, I'm as white as they get, so I didn't. But if you grow up in a type of culture that's repressive or that is that has these issues, that's the movie. The movie is him against his dad and him fighting his destiny. That's the movie. It didn't need all this other shit, and it would mean as much or more to the audience that they want to make the movie for. It doesn't need this shit. I don't know if anyone was anyone waiting for this to happen in the third act of this movie?
No, because nobody knew it was possible that it could happen.
All right. Yes. Let's get some final thoughts here before my computer crashes again and I got to do even more editing.
Sure. I just can't stop banging on the fight scenes. I mean, they could have been. It was so much more. I was thinking about it while we had our technical issues, though, is that fitting the kind of movie that I wanted into the MCU PG-13 rated mandated movie for 7 to 15-year-olds is unrealistic. And
because you just want to see titties and F words.
Well, you're not going to get a Bourne movie. You're not going to get a Daniel Craig James Bond movie.
But you could.
But it like I said, I think cartoony is the right word. It's all just very. It's fantasy violence. Like when it comes on TV, that's going to be the thing in the corner of the screen. It's going to be TV 14 for fantasy violence. I didn't feel a single punch in this movie. I didn't feel like anybody actually made contact or got tired doing anything they were doing.
Right. There was no blood. Like there was no scene, like no great like Bruce Lee scene where he wiped blood from his nose and then kept fighting or something like that, you know?
Yeah. That was what was great about the aforementioned Daredevil hallway scene. That thing went on for fucking ever. And by the end of 4 or 5 minutes or whatever, you could tell that actor just wanted to sit the fuck down.
Right. And it's one of those things, like a lot of times I'll watch a show and I'll be like, this scene goes on too long. I wish it would just end. That scene or scenes like that, I'm like, I wish it would just end because I'm exhausted watching it, because not because it's bad, but because like, Jesus, everyone is exhausted. It exhausts every part of you to see a scene like that. Or I saw
feel any of the action.
Yeah, one of the new Rockstar's YouTube shows equated the bus scene as an homage to the scene in Old Boy with the hammer hallway scene. But the Daredevil is the homage scene to Old Boy, not the bus scene in this movie.
Oh, yeah, the bus scene in this movie was, I don't know, an homage to something from Spy Kids, probably.
Yeah, I don't know. I liked it, though. I thought it was fine. Yeah, so we both wanted it to be better. Let's wrap it on this, unless you have any final thoughts. Yeah. Like, what did you like about the movie? What were the high points of the movie?
I'm not knowing anything about the lead actor, about Simu. I thought he was fine. I think he could easily carry a movie of this scope. He's a fine leading man. I don't know if he comes out of acting traditionally or if he comes out of like action acting, if he's a martial artist that somebody just said, oh, you should make movies.
No, I read on Wikipedia almost all of his roles have been either in romantic comedies or dramas.
Yeah, but I thought he was fine. I thought all the performances were adequate to good. So
yeah, everyone was trying their best. Right. So everyone acting was trying their best.
Sure.
And they were making it work.
It's a case of doing the best with what they were given.
Right. Yeah, I think my notes are the same. I just really wish instead of putting the pendants, the Rambo necklace pendants into the eyes of the dragon statue, it had gone a different way. Because to me, that's the point where the movie, when the Matrix water shot out of the walls, that's the point in the movie where I was like, well, that's it. That's where we're at.
There's no hope of getting what you want now.
Right. Nope. Yeah. Nope. All right.
Yeah.
Exciting stuff.
Well, it could have been more. It deserved to be more. This was maybe not a case of the man who killed Hitler and then the Bigfoot, where the movie wanted to be better than it was, but it certainly deserved to be better than it was.
Yeah, I would love for at some point in the future, like once they shit can a sequel or whatever, I would want the director to come out and just be like, fuck, we had so many great ideas for this movie that were just shit canned or whatever.
Yeah, if I would love to hear an interview with him, like a honest, candid interview, and if there was something that he wanted to do.
Right.
Because it doesn't feel like that at all. It feels like he was a director that had an opportunity to do something with a studio,
Right.
and they just gave him a sheet that said, "This is what you're going to do," and he just said, "Okay."
Yes, I agree. Yes. It should have been less tied to the MCU, more of a standalone movie, and less bullshit. Just less MCU. That's really what killed it. Was it's got to be on the standards of. They have a problem realizing like Endgame was Endgame because it had been set up by like 8 movies. Not every movie has to try to be as big as Endgame.
Right.
They can just be movies.
Yeah, in Phase 4, post Endgame, you could reset. You could do a
Yes.
soft reboot
Yeah.
and just build everything back up.
Yep. I agree. All right. Yeah, again, before my computer crashes yet again. How was your do you have any final thoughts that we didn't get to?
No, I think I've said enough.
I think you have too.
I think I'm canceled now.
If anyone listened to this podcast, we might never get hired by Marvel. When I say we, I mean you. I mean you,
Yeah.
and then I need you to get me
Shang-Chi
hired.
was the best movie I've ever seen.
Also, everyone I know who's white was like, "Oh, it's not Shang-Chi." So that's what this movie really did for us. For our people, like for Asian Americans, it did a lot for them. But for white on white, for white bread with mayo,
It did correct my ignorance.
yes, it corrected my ignorance as well. How was your drink? Your Throne Brewing Blood Orange IPA.
Like the movie, it was disappointing.
Oh, had so much potential because when you hear Blood Orange, you get a little boner. But then,
More just hoppy than anything. I don't get any orange, just soapy, generic hops. 2.
oof. Yeah, so I had the Harlem Brewing hazy IPA. It was good. It wasn't as drinkable as many other hazy. It doesn't compare to the Flying Basset hazy IPAs we had. So it was a 3. It's fine, but it didn't do anything for me. And then I just cracked for editing. I cracked a 4% IPA from Firestone Walker, 96 calories. Because I'm obviously watching my figure. All right, so there we are. I really wanted to like this. I really was into this movie for the first hour. Super into it. Smile on my face. Much like this podcast. I think we lost the thread about an hour in.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Whatever.
until next week.
I enjoyed getting to talk about it because nobody will talk to me.
Did you take your kids to see it or did you go by yourself?
No, I didn't. After I saw it, my 13-year-old's like, "Did you guys see Shang-Chi?" It's like, "Yep." And yeah. He asked, do you like it? And I just didn't reply.
Wow. Eat your nuggets, kid. It's a school night. All right. Do what you do about this time.
Be excellent to each other and do your best.
Even when the man's making you do something different than you want to do your best to do what you can.
Don't let the Mandarin get you down.